Hello and welcome to In Season, our seasonal chat all around transformation and living life more intentionally with the seasons, and a beautiful space here for us to share how we're really integrating and embodying this work in practice. So I'm so pleased you're tuning in. I have Rosanna here with me, a good friend and my really my mirror to a lot of this work and to a lot of what we experience. So I'm so pleased she's agreed to join me here in this space and to co-host these sessions on a seasonal quarterly basis.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. And I know we've just had like a little mini catch up. So I feel warmed up.
Yes.
Ready to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, just excited to start something new. And yeah, to have this space to kind of just expand on this kind of mirror journey that we've been on for the last few years. So yeah, but super special, super excited.
Yeah, amazing. And it feels really timely, and we've both been feeling into having this more spacious, unfiltered space to really go deeper into some of the themes that are coming up in our own lives and in the work we do. So yeah, we're really grateful to have this space, and hopefully there's a lot here for everyone tuning in as well. So in terms of the structure, we're going to have a very loose structure here and really delve into what's most alive for us. But we will each session also feel into the season we're in at the moment. So we'll share a little on that and also whatever's timely. So at the moment, at the time of this recording, I've got my Bloom initiation group starting in the next week. So I'll also be sharing more on what that is for anyone who's feeling into that, and also really allowing this conversation to go wherever it needs to. So yeah, I think we're going to probably dive right in, but just to give a little bit of background on myself and Rosanna for those who don't know us and our friendship. So I'm a transformational coach, and all of my work really centers around Bloom and this Bloom blueprint that I'll share more on, and these seasons that we are all moving through both collectively and individually and in many different levels. And I really share this work through containers and spaces that I hold, both through workshops, retreats and programs, and also more just online and through spaces like this, because I'm so passionate about this and the impact it's had on my own life, and how there's so much medicine here for us all to, I feel, tap into and reflect back on each other. And Rosanna so beautifully expands on this in her own language, and it's why it's always such a joy to be in space with her, because she amplifies this in her own way. And we've been friends for the last few years, and our journeys have really just always come together in such timely times. And there's so much, I think, that comes through when we're reflecting each other, witnessing and holding space. So yeah, I feel like this space has been a long time coming, kind of percolating, and now it's coming into fruition at the best time. And I'll, I guess, hand over to you a little bit of...
all of that. And also just, it's such a beautiful opportunity. And I feel like our relationship, it just gives... It's never forced. We can go months without speaking, but there's always a point at which we're just pulled together, and that this type of space, this type of conversation is needed, because there is some points that, you know, when you're sort of walking your own path, and you're sort of maybe straying a little bit off, you know, the traditional norms. There is a need almost to kind of like check in to see if we haven't lost it completely. And so, yeah, as for me, there's not one single way in which I would be able to describe what it is that I do. It has been a point of frustration, but I suppose the area in which I am moving into, and I have been naturally working with unknowingly, is this area of multidimensionality. I am an Ayurvedic consultant, and so all of the work that I have been doing, one-to-one work, and also what's the word? The work that I'm going to be bringing forward is very much rooted in this sort of ancient wisdom, our cyclical nature, But for me, one modality, one language is too restrictive. I love astrology. I've been working with the indigenous people from the high Andes called the Quero, learning all about their cosmology. And again, they look at life and through nature's eyes, but through a much more expansive lens than we in the West have been. I don't even guided to look through. And yeah, and just sort of walking back into my body, I suppose, over the last few years, and dropping very much into the womb space, exploring sort of what it is to sort of open up and unfold from within, which can be a very lonely walk. It can be quite isolating, but the magic that unfolds when you sort of drop into your body and what is sort of revealed is something that no one else can really teach you. And so yeah, there are many languages, many lenses through which I love to look, love to explore the world, love to explore what it is to be inside this human experience. And so yeah, the work that I'm coming through is going to weave so much of these different lenses together, but in service of us coming back into our bodies, coming back into cyclical time, and for women especially to feel at home, taking up that space and being sort of led by their own nature, sort of thing. Yeah, the great rebalancing. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'll leave it there for now, but yeah, having you, Naudia, and having the opportunity to connect intentionally now to really sort of dig deep into, you know, what we don't get taught and what we discover as we just literally walk the walk is so refreshing. And it gives me an opportunity to really sort of ground and integrate and take ownership of what feels like when you are kind of going inwards to be quite hard to grasp. And so I feel as though this space is a really beautiful way for us to give language to what is really that really doesn't have enough words. There's no one way to look at anything. And especially when you come back into and when we are kind of exploring feminine wisdom and allowing ourselves to be in that space, sometimes words are important because we want them, we need to bring them out. And so I feel like this is really, really, I'm excited. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for speaking so beautifully around that. And yeah, so much resonates. And I mean, I think this is why our paths are so intertwined. And I just want to touch on that kind of integration piece, because I feel like that is a key part of, I feel, what we're going to be exploring here, because so many of us who are on this path understand so much, have so much awareness, insights, and know ourselves very well from being on this path and going inwards. And really, I feel the invitation at the moment is this integration piece. How do we truly begin integrating all that we know, begin embodying and living the life that is calling us, but also tapping into that wisdom within from nature, or whatever path we're inspired to be able to really drop into the body and live through that place.
Yeah. So the integration piece just sparked something then, and yes, no, it just brought me back to a conversation that one of my teachers. So this is when I've been sitting with the Quero elders in Peru, and one of them was basically just expressing the importance of embodiment because how embodiment takes time, you know, and it's not a process, it's not something to rush into. We can't force it. And so this it's something that we become, you know. And just integration, embodiment is something that I feel when you are on a path of exploration or self-development or healing, it's really the place where everything comes together and everything becomes solidified and yeah, that's for me anyway. That's where the real magic, that's where the real magic kind of comes in, because it's felt. There's no
Yeah.
escaping it. There is no escaping it. Like throughout the journey, you're getting hits, you're getting, you know, signs and synchronicities, you're getting these pulls into spaces, you're getting, you know, torn apart by things, and, you know, all of that. But it's in the quiet, which I
Yeah.
think integration is quiet, embodiment is quiet. It doesn't shout, it doesn't speak, you know, it doesn't, you know, want too much attention even. It just feels so good.
Yeah.
And to arrive at that space and be guided into that space where is so important, especially because we're not really culturally kind of programmed to kind of come into that quiet. It needs to be loud, it needs to be explosive, and honoring this into and a completion point, or whatever it is that you feel. There are many ways you could probably say it is. It just, for me, it just feels so, I can feel it now. It just feels so good, you know, because it literally is alive within the body. So yeah, right back at you there.
Yeah. And I feel like from what you just said as well, important point to kind of highlight is that so much of it does happen beneath the surface and internally. And it's almost like seemingly not much is happening, but everything is happening. And I feel that's why it is often so overlooked, or we don't have the space of the language to really kind of speak to that. And yeah, it's such a key part of this. So I'm excited to kind of dive into that a lot more as well. And I feel what might be helpful is we actually had a conversation around this time a year ago, which was when my first round of Bloom initiation was just launching. And I feel like that became almost like an initiation for the two of us as well. Into deeper layers of this work, and so much has unfolded since then in this year, and so many big themes happening over this current season. So I thought it'd be nice to kind of explore some of that and then kind of loop back into where we are now. And I sense that you will be, whoever's tuning in, and I'm trusting the right people are finding this right message, will resonate with a lot of this. And it's almost like we then all expand on this topic together in some shape or form. So, I mean, I don't know if you want to share a little bit on your unfolding, and then I'll kind of go into mine and where I am now.
Well, we'd need, like, you know, about 10 hours for me to go into the complete unfolding of what's been happening over the last sort of like 6-7 years. But I think to just go back even just to this last year, sort of just in 2025, because what I see 2025, my experience anyway, is sort of like a concentrated, accelerated version of what's been happening in the years preceding. So this sort of unraveling, and I've called it the washing machine effect, of just going through a really intense refinement process when it comes to identity, when it comes to purpose, when it comes to you know, having, you know, and last year being sort of the year of the snake, numerology a year 9. These are sort of completion years, death years, shedding years, you know, years that are as liberating as much as they are hard work and totally disorientating. So I feel as though that the last year has been sort of I've not been able to, and we're still sort of literally on the edge now. We are literally like 2 days away from the year of the snake completing. And I feel as though it's been a period of time that has absolutely demanded everything from me. I have had to completely lose myself, or what I thought was myself, and had to let go of so much of the structure that I was carrying that made up who I thought I was. And yeah, it's very hard to sort of describe, you know, in a single sentence what last year sort of was. But all I can speak to is now, is the spaciousness that I feel now. And it feels the unburdening, the unburdening. My body feels spacious. I still have no clear sort of, there's a lot of unknown, put it that way. There's just a lot of space around me. But I feel lighter. And there is this energy that is sort of now starting to rise up and flow through my body in a totally new way. And I'm at this sort of point now, again, this where it's almost like the trying to say this in a really clear way. It's like now I can finally speak as me, whatever that is. I don't have any other filter on, you know, all of these identities, all of these versions of myself that have been sort of packaged up and sort of hanging on and encasing me for my whole life. And I'm 36 now, you know, now I'll be 37 this year. I feel like thank you, and thank you for all the work that I've been doing for the last few years, and for just allowing me to be free from everything that was sort of has been sort of weighing me down. And now I'm in this sort of, I feel like I'm in this void space still, but one where I can actually start to hear, I can hear myself, and I feel more myself. And it's quite a strange space to be in. Calm, quiet, there's a stability here though. And that's where I feel right now, sort of in this, if we look at it through more of a seasonal lens, we're sort of coming out of that, it's the deep of winter. I've really enjoyed being in that winter internal space. Yeah, I just feel there's been sort of a strength really that's been sort of gathered, and I'm just enjoying this rooting, this stability, this pause, let's just call it. There's a pause right now. Yeah. It's like a beautiful pause right now. But yeah, as for the journey, we can go into sort of specifics of what my journey actually looked like, or, you know, I'm sure as these conversations sort of unfold. But I think the biggest one for me, if I could condense, it would be, as a woman especially, coming back into my body. That is it, coming back into my body and everything that actually really means. And it's almost like this is the point of arrival now. I'm here, I'm back in my body. I'm back in my body, people.
Welcome.
What's going to happen? Welcome to humanity. Welcome to Earth. You've landed. This is what this moment in time feels like. Like I'm actually on the planet, in this body, and, you know, and that pause is just like, okay, and now we play. Yeah. Now let's go. That's the feeling right now. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, that resonates so much, and so many themes mirroring mine as well, no surprise. I feel for me, last year was a real initiation into stepping into my work on different levels. And I think early on in the year, kind of that spring, summer, I was very much in this deep faith is the only way to put it, in that I really had to let go of control of how I thought my journey was going to go. And, you know, this has been, you know, a decade plus journey of cycling through deaths and rebirths internally, shedding old identities, old lives, old ways of being. And I feel like last year was probably one of the biggest, where it's almost like the journey's been so long, so now there's only one way to go, and going all in. So when opportunities were coming up, or when I was shunted to travel somewhere, there's no answer but yes to answer that calling, to follow my intuition, to move through the discomfort that brings up when there's so many unknowns, so many. It's kind of like you know where you're heading overall, you can't see the path, and you have to focus on the present step, the present moment. And it's like, we know all of these things when we've been on the journey long enough, but it's one thing knowing it, and it's a whole other thing truly living it, truly embodying it, trusting that we are truly guided, protected, and that it can be as simple as dropping into the body, following intuition, knowing that we're held and supported. And yeah, it felt like constantly knowing this, but then realizing, oh no, there's a deeper level of experiencing that and embodying that. Oh, there's a deeper invitation here of, do you truly believe this? If so, if so, show me. So I felt like that a lot of that was over the summer. I was very much also launching a lot of things and being in that creative flow of energy and opportunities coming my way that I'd been looking at for years, but then just kind of clicking in. So some beautiful moments like that, but also moments of like crumbling, of kind of letting go of what I thought I was doing or what the direction I thought I was heading in, and just constantly being reminded of, I know nothing. Let me be an empty vessel and just show me. So yeah, both beautiful and profound, but challenging at times. And then I feel kind of speeding up to now, like autumn just gone. Again, a surrender of a lot around identity. So it's interesting you brought that up again. And I feel like, because you don't always see where you're limiting yourself and where you're still playing small. And I feel like for me, I'd made these big steps forward and these big, I guess, initiations and commitments and going in the right direction. But what I felt the autumn was almost like fine tuning, realizing where I was still keeping myself small or softening my truth or not quite expressing myself in the fullest way that I could. And there was a real kind of discomfort coming up with that, of where I was still needing to grieve and let go of these past versions of myself and have a lot of compassion for those parts as well, and sensing that something bigger, bolder was emerging. And it's that like, oh no, again having to go further into this work. And I think also realizing that,
like, don't drag me more. I don't want.
Yeah,
you do, but you don't want it. You're like, when?
Exactly. And I think what's so interesting for me is like whatever theme I'm spotlighting. So I do these monthly online sessions where we spotlight different themes called Seeds of Bloom. And whatever theme I was being called to hold space for and spotlight would always initiate me into a deeper lesson or understanding of that theme. So realizing as well with the work that I'm doing, it's like, I'm constantly having to live and embody and experience stuff on a deeper level so that I can hold that space for others. And that is both a gift, but also so challenging behind the scenes. And now that I have a kind of deeper understanding of that, you know, I've accepted it and I try not to have resistance, but it doesn't always make it easier. So that's been a big theme for the year, really understanding that and experiencing it. And then I think now going into kind of winter, this rooting phase. So for those who actually don't know the Bloom Blueprint, we always begin with surrender in autumn, which is the kind of shedding, letting go of anything that's no longer serving us. So often that comes with old identities, habits, ways of being. Sometimes it can be people and life situations. So it always begins with that surrender and letting go. And the more we do that with the art of conscious completion and compassion and not bypassing anything, the smoother that process can go, and we almost lean into it. And then the second phase, which I'm about to kind of speak to now, is this winter rooting, going inwards. And for me, this has been super potent this year. And I think the biggest things that were coming up was realizing how at times I was still in this loop of seeking to understand and analyze and always be in process. And actually, to really disrupt that pattern, I just needed to do nothing, to literally do nothing and realize, you know, because we're on this journey and we're always sometimes trying to get to the next stage, but we already are here. We're already complete. We already have everything we need. And sometimes doing nothing and really just grounding into that is the medicine. And I thought for me, I realized, and it's not to say understanding isn't important, because it brings a level of insight, but if we're not obviously embodying and integrating it, it's not long lasting. But I feel what I also kind of came to really see and experience was how I was still abandoning myself at times and still outsourcing things. So I think the biggest theme, if I was to kind of summarize the last year, has been coming back to self, not abandoning myself, and really choosing me above all else, so that I can then give from overflow and be the vessel and do the work that I love and I'm called to do. But ultimately, for me to do that with full integrity, I always have to come back to self and be rooted. So that I feel would summarize everything. And I think now what I'm sensing is this kind of emergence into spring, which from the bloom lens is when we're starting to follow our intuition and honor what we're called to do, whilst integrating all that we've journeyed through and honoring the kind of rooting phase that we've just come through. And I think for me, it is this new identity that's coming up, this boldness and aliveness, this knowing that I am here to be seen and heard, not from an egoic lens. And trust me, if I had it my own way, I'd be in hermit mode 24/7 underground. But having to kind of let go of that and feeling this sense of coming through with this work and all that I'm doing, and I think I'm being prepared for that in many ways. But yeah, that's
I love all of that. I love all of that. There's so much there. I think just there's three things. First off, the what you were speaking to about letting go of these old identities, or this sort of shift now, which is self-abandon. That was what you were saying about self-abandon. Not that huge for me as well in the last year. The letting go and the sort of having all of these identities sort of ripped from me. Literally just showed me all the ways in which I would seek literally language, an identity, texture, an aesthetic outside of me, you know. And in choosing something that wasn't me, I'd be betraying myself every time. And that sort of, you know, and what you're speaking to about coming back into this, you were saying about coming into that sort of stillness and actually doing nothing. So for me, over the last few years, this is the thing that I have actually found to be very easy to do. However, what I found challenging in being so good at it is that I have there's an internal voice that has, and externally reflected in the people maybe around me or in conversation that I'm having, where it's not acceptable or not accepted to stop or to just choose a different pace, to rest, you know. And the loudest voice has been my own in those instances, you know, but also really interesting, reflected in you know, the conversations that I have with people that are very close to me, and further afield as well. So yeah, to come into sort of like full body accepting that it is, and it's not even full body, it's almost like just understanding the power of being still and holding that space for yourself and setting that, and it's not even like you're powerful, it's not so much how powerful it makes you feel just by holding that space, but the intelligence that is held within that stillness, and then within that rest point, within the nothing, within the space, is the thing that it's like it's all there, and we literally like just fly over it. We're like, we've done that, let's just keep going. And so I love the fact that you came back, because I know you are so generative in nature, you know, you're constantly being inspired, you're constantly on the move, which I love as well, with the different travel that you do. And I think you can't help by being inspired, because you're constantly inside these different environments and being physically affected by life. Not just like, oh, that's a pretty color over there, I'm going to incorporate that, but you're kind of like, you're being exposed to this information, and you're absorbing it, so you're becoming it. So you're like, it needs to go, it needs to move, it needs to live, it needs to breathe outside of me. So this sort of like, you're just in that sort of constant flow of creation, which is so lovely. But then I think now you're in the mountains somewhere, and you were this time sort of last year. It's like, but then life will bring you to a place like this mountainous area where there's no one around you, and it will force you to be still and be in that stillness as well. So you're getting like another dose of that, which is great. And interesting, you were saying about this time, sort of, I think it was autumn, you were saying you had this moment where you were sort of coming into this reckoning point where you kind of this identity reckoning point, I think, around identity, or realizing that there were certain things that you now want to start to express and start to embody and start to share. And it's interesting because that was also the eclipse point last year, and this is now becoming literally into eclipse season now this year as well, which is why I think I feel this sort of pause, this sort of like, because I think what happens is that, you know, our doing selves, our sort of ego selves, they don't really function that well in these spaces. So there's almost like a slowing down in order for our soul intelligence, whatever you want to call it, to actually have space to move pieces around, for that refinement to happen, but with less effort. But it might involve stuff happening, if that makes sense. Like some big shifts, but it's less about you doing anything and more about the space that you give for stuff to be maneuvered, and sort of that recalibration around sort of an original design, original blueprint that just needs a bit of freaking space, you know, and to come out of that doing mode. So I love the fact that you're in the mountains right now.
Yeah, there's a few things I want to speak to from that. Just in the nature travel side of things, because I feel like that is one of our most powerful reminders to come into presence. And exactly what you just said, I feel like I have these divinely timed opportunities that always seem to come up, that take me into the mountains or somewhere beautiful. So at the moment I'm in Italy, in Tuscany, and last year I was in Scotland in the mountains, and they're sort of natural disruptors, reminders to just come into that presence. And obviously the whole Bloom Blueprint is inspired by nature and nature's wisdom. But I feel the thing that kept coming up as you were speaking as well is it's almost like, whether it's travel or a Bloom coaching program or a space I hold, these containers are essentially our permission slips to come into doing nothing. Because I think that was the thing that was coming up for me over winter, was I just wasn't giving myself permission to do nothing. And obviously intellectually, if we believe the things we kind of believe in that, you know, slowing down is beneficial, is sometimes the most productive thing we can do to speed up. And it then gives the space for things to percolate, or for orchestration on a bigger level, as you say, for us to do less and still be allowing and receiving. Yet, even if we know that and believe that, to actually give ourselves permission, it's so challenging, because there's so much external noise and conditioning. And you know, you were speaking to it being relatively easy for you, but having loved ones not always supportive of that, and there's all this noise and conditioning that it's a challenge to not escape. So to actually honor our bodies and our wisdom and do nothing and be in presence with nature, even though on one level we know it's going to help us, can still be so challenging. And I feel that's what I've realized. A lot of my work are these permission slips to hold that space, to allow ourselves to do that, which hopefully over time, the invitation is that we can give ourselves that permission and know which season we're in, and honor that and hold the space and pause and stop, and likewise know when it is that we need to move into action, and to honor that as well. And you know, not remain somewhere out of comfort in a way. It's a constant checking in and honoring and having that discernment, I feel, which is where this fine-tuning is coming in, that I feel we're both experiencing in our own way, so that we can actually integrate and embody this on a much deeper level. So I was actually thinking about this last night, just because I knew I was going to have a call with you and talking, and we're going to, you know, mention Bloom, and it's just like, you know, she's putting herself into process. She is, and holding space and giving people permission, which is something that I think, and to feel we have the right to give people. And ultimately it's to read that permission giving to self. You give it to yourself, and that's the only person you need to ask permission from is you. But you were saying, we have been conditioned out of
following our intuition. And like you said about, well, like I said about it coming quite easy, wants to move into rest. My body wants it knows already where it wants to be. There is all myself that knows what it needs. And the voices that become loud and the conversations around or whatever it is, or the things that prevent me from doing that and keep me in sort of motion, that is the point at which permission from someone else can be really useful. You know, when conversation with a friend who's literally going through, like, you know, we have this sort of mirror effect, literally similar, and we're both moving into sort of a slower pace. I'm like, okay, great, I've got a twin brother, and you know, we're pretty much on the same like life path, and it's great having a twin brother because he is my sort of like, but in the male, he's following his masculine design, and it's amazing having the opportunity to check in with him when I think I'm not doing enough, or I'm meeting blocks, or there's this voice coming up around slowing down or whatever, and he's literally going through something similar. So having permission, or getting that kind of like having someone in your court basically, or on your, and having an alternative voice which is softer, which is gentle, which speaks to support the very instinctual pull into stillness, into presence, into consolidation, into completion, whatever the word is. And so I feel as though what you've created with Bloom is essentially, well, amongst many things, it gives people permission, because you literally have to move through all of these different stages. You can't skip a stage. So you're going to be in your winter stage. You're going to have to slow down. You're going to have to sit in darkness for a while. Have to just go deep, deep, deep. And that is so essential, being kind of like forced and held, kicking and screaming, or whatever it is, allowing that discomfort to come up, because that is just the conditioning. That is just all of this external noise that has just been drowning out what feels. When you're in that space and when you surrender to it, it feels so right. And you know, the fact that you are moving people these 4 different phases, it literally is, again, I do a lot of work with the Keter people and these elders, and over the last few years, what some of their teachings, they've taught me how to open up a chakana, which is the Andean version of a medicine wheel. And this chakana is something that we have worked through together over a period of weeks or months, and I now have the capacity to open up one myself. And when I feel the need for extra support to meet a challenge, to move through a specific period of time with additional support, to put myself into process. And you basically, what I feel so organically, and it's not coming from, I feel it's coming from this really beautiful connection, relationship you have, and respect for your body and the timing and the journey that you're on. Bloom has emerged in that same image, so to speak. It's literally like a modern medicine wheel. That's the way I look at it. And I say modern. There's nothing modern about it. This is ancient. This is like, this is indigenous. This is the indigenous mind coming out. This is the body speaking. This is nature moving through you. It is so, because when you step into process, and just to clarify for anyone who doesn't know what a medicine wheel is, you know, a medicine wheel is sort of like, you can look at it sort of like a mirror to you. Your instead of allowing the full force of all of this hard work, which is energetic, it's mental, it's emotional, it's physical, instead of having to run it through your system, again, the physical body is stretched and stressed, and we live in these environments that are constantly putting more and more load onto our physical systems. And the work that we often do and need to do spans throughout different aspects of our being, of our it's not just in the physical body. And so what a medicine wheel allows us to do, what Bloom essentially is allowing you to do, is you are externalizing, and you are creating not an external space, but a mirror, a portal, a dedicational, active, alive space that is energetically alive, you know, and it's literally an extension of you. You're just not allowing that to run through your system. right? You're supporting yourself, you're going to bed, you're doing all the things in the day, you're doing all the things, but you are also working very much within the energetic, within the emotional, within the mental. And that is why these phases and why an external framework is almost needed. And it literally is the thing. I think that it's with so much to do with coaching and with different sort of programs and courses that are available. I feel like a lot of them come to fix a problem or to find a solution to something. And it's like mind meeting mind. And I feel as though the shift and what is actually needed, and we're talking about integration and embodiment, is the clearing through, the clarification, the refinement of everything that doesn't belong to you. And so walking through the medicine wheel, essentially you have 4 quadrants, 4 directions, sacred directions, 4 elements, 4 some people have in indigenous customs, they have animal archetypes, and each quadrant, each direction, each phase, same thing here, each season holds a specific energy, holds a specific element, they hold specific qualities, and they hold a specific, and this is the word I want to use because it's like each of them hold a specific intelligence that is alive, that is active. And so this is another thing, and I really want to hone this because I feel like what you're creating here and what you're inviting people into is something ancient, and it is something that your body will recognize and be so grateful for. Once you start to work within each quadrant, within each phase, with a specific seasonal energetical archetype, let's just call it, because you can, there are so many ways that you could speak to this, and you've just given you a beautiful, your own sort of language onto this, is that you allow the intelligence to work on you. It's less mental, right? And this comes from another conversation that I had with one of my teachers, again through this lineage, and she invited this other medicine woman onto this joint call, and it was actually all to do with the archetype of the crone. There's older women, they've been through their lives, they've walked this path this path of the medicine woman for a long time, and they're now at a stage where they're just like, this is all we know. But one of the beautiful things, what this other medicine woman, I can't remember her name, if I can, I'll let you know, and it just shook me, and I've never been the same since, and it so applies to everything that you're doing, is she was I see if I can actually say it now. She was speaking to the way that we have been sort of taught to experience life, move through life, is that we do life. We go on a holiday, and you ask someone where they've been, they're like, oh, I've done Florence, I've done Tuscany, I've done all these places, or we've done the Eiffel Tower, and it's this sort of checklist of doing kind of thing, and that's just an example. Or like, I've done a yoga class, could be, not in a traveling sense. And what she was saying is like, we have this relationship with life where it's something that we need to do, because we've forgotten that we ourselves are life. We are living, we are alive, and there is no separation between us and nature, us and life. And so the reframe isn't so much about what I need to fix, what I need to whatever. It's about how you are, who you see yourself, how you see who you are, what body is an extension, an expression of life. And so you don't do life, you experience it, you allow it in, you become it. And also life is something that doesn't belong outside, your skin. This is Ayurvedic perspective, but it's porous, it's your first barrier of defense. But we metabolize life through the skin, we metabolize, it's a point of individuation for sure. However, you are not separate from it. And so by stepping into the medicine wheel, by stepping into each phase, instead of what do I need to do here, it's allowing these specific energetics that belong to each season right, that are ancient and are also alive within you, to allow them just to do you. This is what she was saying. She was like, I let life do me. You know, I go for a walk. And I think at that time she was also in Italy, actually. She was doing a bit of a year. She was also in Italy. And she was just like, I'll just go for a walk and I will allow the walk to do me, you know? And so when you're stepping into sort of a specific part of the medicine wheel, say, for example, it's winter, because let's say we can all kind of understand that we've just all been through it, is that we allow those qualities of winter, of darkness, of, you know, solitude, of going inwards, of what's the word, you know, even like the temperature, we just allow, we allow it in, we allow our body to we allow it to calibrate us. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing you need to do in those phases. You just have to be open to the intelligence working you. And so for me, going into a space in a container for 12 weeks where it's like, okay, all I need to do is show up today, right, in this space, and reacquaint myself with these seasons, myself with the texture, with the taste, with the sensation. And, you know, it's not about, and that's why it's like a drop into the body. It's not even about that, but just to allow the season, allow the phase to reveal you, you know? And that might be through shedding, for example, because that is a quality that is needed when you're in autumn. You know, you need to shed it. It's like, but it's the most natural thing. Your body will recognize it. And this is the thing, when you are working with, sorry, I'm going on, but I'm just like, I'm so excited. I'm just geeking out. But when you align with nature, when you align with the cycles of nature, you know, with life, basically, the hard work's kind of you are held. It's not even the hard work's done for you. There's still a lot of work to do, but you are supported in such a way because you are literally jumping onto the current. You're jumping onto the intelligence that is literally there in that season, or that you are inviting in, because that's what you're doing. You're saying, okay, we're going to be inviting in this season. We're going to be inviting in these qualities. And by inviting that in with that level of intentionality and care and sort of, you know, and reverence as well, reverence and respect for the stillness that winter brings, is something that your body will thank you for. And you will start to love it. Mentally, you're kicking and screaming. But that is the recalibration that all of us need, because we don't live inside cyclical time. We don't. We don't live inside nature's rhythms. We don't see ourselves as nature, and therefore we're not in relationship. Who are we in relationship with? What are we in relationship with? This projection of something that is mentally created, you know. And so this is what I feel is the magic, and that's the other thing I'll say. And we could speak, and I really would love to, the synchronicities, magic, synchronicities, and the signs and the way life meets you are all available within this kind of space, because you are literally stepping into that current whereby life is able to reach you. Magic is able to reach you. And synchronicity is from the Greek, it literally means in your own time, in your own rhythm. So if you are living life according to anyone else's design, anyone else's blueprint, especially any blueprint that isn't kind of founded and sort of lives within the living current, that aliveness of nature, let's just say, you won't experience synchronicity. You won't experience that magic, you know? You have to be inside your body. You have to be inside your own rhythms. You have to be inside the wider kind of like container called life, and move through these and be in process. And so you, by creating Bloom and you're inviting people to be in process, you are helping them to reacquaint themselves and giving them permission to sit inside these energetics and this primordial intelligence that you will instantly recalibrate to without even trying, but even to know that that's what you're stepping into. You know, you're not stepping into sort of a regular kind of like, coaching fix it container. I'm not, this is not bashing, coaches out there at all, but you're working with nature, you're co-creating with nature. And so it's like, this is there's a whole other level that you're opening yourself up to, and you're not just working with the mind by opening up a container like Bloom and going through these phases. You're working energetically, which is where everything actually starts from. The magic, the things that we can't grasp, we can't see, the things that we actually really want, and that kind of make us like return us to that kind of like childlike magic, and that kind of, that is because it doesn't live in form. It's something that we know is there, we feel it's, or it might, and then it will bam come into form, and suddenly something's manifested, or bam, something, you've just had the most amazing conversation that's opened up a new door. And then it's that, it's all of that. But I'm so excited for you, and I'm so excited for anyone stepping into this. I'm so excited because it's just that. And then you can apply it to yourself once you learn how to do this. This is something that you can step back into, and you can teach your children. You can, you're then affecting your families, and you know how to hold that space for yourself. And you can also, like, I will walk back into another medicine wheel with in community, because it just feels like it's such a beautiful space to be held and witnessed as you're moving through, and I can do it by myself. So it's each to, I'm so excited, Naudia, for you and to everyone.
Well, thank you. I just love how you speak to these themes, and so much resonated, and the way you speak about it with so much joy and passion just brings it all back up for me as well, and the power and gravitas of this work. And I guess if I was going to reflect on a few things, it is that invite to see ourselves as nature, because just as nature, we then move through the seasons. And when we shift to doing it intentionally and working with the energetics and inviting everything you just said, that's where it's so empowering, and that's where we are allowing life to guide us, and we are in that aliveness. And exactly what you said, that's where the magic begins to happen. But it begins with that inner journey. It begins with moving through the phases more intentionally, which is exactly what the intention and purpose and design of the blueprint and this container is for. So it's such a powerful way. And what I would also say, and which we didn't really touch on, is if you are in this threshold moment, this is where working in a container like this can be so transformative. Because just as Rosanna said, the idea here is that we are able to be empowered and do this work alone and not need anything outside of ourselves, but to discern when it's powerful to do it in community, in containers, with others. And I think especially when we're at this threshold moment of moving from an old life or old identity into a new era, new chapter, that is when having the support, the container, the witnessing, the co-regulation, all of that structure, so that you can just be held and be fluid within, can make all of the difference. And then that's really why I run this only annually, to invite people who feel called to join, to be there, but to not become dependent on it, so that you can then have that lived experience and continue that work alone or pass it on to your children. And that ripple effect actually is so beautiful. So I love that you touched on that as well. And it really is why doing the work on ourselves is the biggest gift, both to ourselves and the world and to everyone. When we come into our truth and living our blueprint and what we're being called to do in this lifetime, it's the biggest gift that we can give to everybody. So it's such a beautiful point in time to feel into this, and I know we're just coming to the end of the hour. So I guess just to wrap up, for anyone that's firstly just resonating with what we're sharing in this message, genuinely would just love to hear what has landed and what's coming up for yourself, so that we can continue this conversation. And I'll include links as to how you can get in touch with us. We're both on Instagram, and we've both share online, so to do get in touch. But for those who are feeling called to step into a powerful container, my Bloom initiation group container is starting in a week. So doors are closing already on Thursday, the 19th of February, and we kick off on the 23rd on Monday. And this is so timed with astrology and everything happening in terms of this point in time. But also I feel collectively we have been going through this shedding, and it is time for many of us to step into this new timeline, step into who we truly are. And doing this as a group, as a container, as a collective, is so incredibly powerful, and I would be absolutely honoured to hold that space for anyone who's resonating with this. And I do have a few one-to-one slots open as well, depending on when you're watching this. So do feel free to check that out, or get in touch if you want to have a bit of one-to-one space to fit into that. And I'll link everything below. But in terms of what it is, it's a 12-week container, as we've kind of touched on, to move through these 4 phases of the Bloom Blueprint, but with live coaching and embodiment work as well. So working with the body, working with these energetics. It's very holistic, but ultimately it's very permission based. I'm truly just guiding you back to your own wisdom, to your own intelligence, giving you that permission and holding that space for you. And yeah, we'll be touching on these themes every season. So I'm so excited that we'll be continuing this chat in the next season and reflecting on kind of what's unfolded since, and how we're integrating, embodying this, and really allowing also the conversation to go where it needs to go. So we haven't scripted or structured this. We've had a few things, anchor points we knew we wanted to explore, but we've really just trusted that whatever needed to come up has come up, and that the right people will receive this and connect in as well. So yeah, this feels like a really spacious, beautiful format for us, but welcoming any feedback and suggestions as well. And yeah, any other things you want to touch on, Rosanna, before we kind of close out? Anything that we've missed or feels particularly live?
Just the importance of coming back into cyclical time, which is, again, it's so important because of what we're now collectively stepping into. Everyone obviously, many people know about the year of the fire horse coming in. There's a whole different sort of energetic experience for us, and one that will have a tendency to pull us into the mind, and this is where our experience of sort of losing track of time or time flying by is going to only increase. And so if you have an opportunity, however, if it's not via the Bloom initiation, to start to work with cyclical time, it is going to be such an anchor for these times that are only going to be speeding up. And so your experience of the fire horse, your experience of this next year, you are experience more of it. It's going to be because it's not something that is you then, by stepping into cyclical time, either via Bloom, via your own sort of menstrual cycle, if you are actively menstruating, or via just honoring the season that you're actually in, that is alive right now. We're coming into spring. These are ways in which you are fully inside of life, and time then is you have a different experience, and so the only thing to find ways to anchor to cyclical time, which is the body. Just FYI, the body is where it's at. And yeah, the body of work that I'm going to be moving forward with, and has been an incubation for many years, it's will be the first strand of it is going to all be linked to time, but not in sort of a container format like Naudia is doing. We're going to be working sort of in these kind of 2 to 3 hour workshop sort of settings in person. London and Bristol are sort of the first 2 locations starting this spring, and we're going to be exploring time through a multi-dimensional lens. So it's less about walking you through and more about blasting doors open. So a whole different experience, but one hopefully that will one that will hopefully sort of open up these doors to the liminal, the magical, the unseen. And as women, we are dying to come back into, you know, this aspect of self which has been sort of closed off in our relationship with time through a whole different embodied and more of a etheric and esoteric sort of lens is going to be fun to play with. So that's just for me. So yeah, but I think I can't wait for people to move into this year, because I think it's going to be exciting. And let's all do it together. I think we're going to need each other. There's so much happening. So coming together to work together, human contact,
Yeah.
permission giving, for sure. I think it's all going to be needed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and more of us connecting with the body wisdom, as you say, to discern what is for us and move forward in that journey. And yeah, I'm so grateful that we've got this friendship, and there's more of us having these conversations and resonating with this work. And yeah, let's do this together. I think that's a beautiful way to part this conversation and plant the seed for people as well. Yes. And yeah, do get in touch if anything's resonated. And as I say, Bloom is quite timely, so if that's calling you, have a look, but we'll share contact details as well to get in contact more generally as well. But yeah, thank you for those who are here listening. Really grateful, and thank you, Rosanna, for joining me in this conversation. So grateful, and yeah, excited for all that is going to be unfolding this year. What a year it's going to be.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.